Titans trying to stay on course for an AFC Central Division title. We'll have the kickoff when we come back.
Yeah, heard about Benny the Bison?
No, what?
He never checked out the risk and overall performance of those mutual funds he bought.
Well, Benny's no brain surgeon, right?
When we created a smarter kind of investment firm, we created a smarter kind of investor with tools like the Schwab Select List, which highlights historically high-performing mutual funds. Visit schwabwelcome.com to order a free copy of the Select List.
You don't do your homework, you end up looking ridiculous.
Hi, I'm Chris Carter. I'd like to talk to you about a problem that can happen in your city, your community, to someone you love. The inability to tell the difference between a bid price and an ask price, a market order and a limit order. But thanks to programs like Web Shop, Schwab is making a difference. At Schwab branches across America, they'll teach you all of the world's leading online broker.
Last year, Schwab held over 10,000 web shops. To sign up for one or to attend our other workshops, call 1-800-9-SCHWAB.
The elements factor into this matchup today. The Browns and the Titans in Cleveland. 21 degrees, wind chill -6, and snow expected throughout. Will taper off maybe in the second half, third and fourth quarter. Stadium about half full. These are great football fans, and these are tough conditions to be in. Browns have won the toss. Tennessee to kick it off. Craig Hentrick on a fly to Jamel White. Here's White crossing what we assume is the 25-yard line. And he's knocked down by Frank Chamberlain. A 22-yard return. And here is Doug Peterson. He gets the start for Cleveland, coming off his best game as a pro last week in that loss to Philadelphia. But who knows who'll be in there before this one's done.
And last week they used 2 wide receivers, and Kevin Johnson was one of those wide receivers at the quarterback position. But expect gimmick plays today. Empty backfields, running backs lining up under quarterback. Anything's possible.
First and 10 at the 26. And Peterson on the draw play. Travis Prentice has a hole up the middle. And able to get across the 35 for a gain of 9.5. And a flag on the play somewhere. Our referee today, Tony Corrente. When we got here at about 10:30 mark, there was no snow on the field.
Holding, offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
Steve Zahersky, normally the right tackle, has been starting at left guard because of injuries. And Chris Palmer, so much speculation in this area about his future as a 5-year deal. But Palmer told us, hey, you can't worry about that, right? Put the blinders on. Empty backfield for the Browns, so they will start with some chicanery early on a 1st and 20. And now a shift. Out of the shotgun, it is Peterson. Peterson steps up, has the protection, and has his man, Mark Edwards, who is brought down very quickly by Greg Favors. He picks up 5.
9 special plays right off the bat. They take Doug Peterson and split him out, spread the offense out. There's no one in the backfield. The quarterback spread out to the left. He comes back in motion and gets back into his natural position, which is the quarterback position. Here's Peterson in motion. He'll come back to his natural position, shotgun position. They complete the play.
Just trying to catch Tennessee off guard a bit, but the Titans defensive players told us, hey, they're ready for anything. They looked at a lot of film this week, doing it again. This time it's Prentice out of the shotgun. And nothing going. Loose football. A fight for it, and Eddie Robinson able to slide on top of it. So the bag of tricks comes back to haunt Cleveland as Prentice coughs it up.
Now, and this is what happens when you have a player that's not in the position he's used to. He's back in the quarterback position, taking the shotgun snap. It's different handling the ball for Travis Prentice. Here he is going into motion. Now he's in the Q position, the quarterback position. Shotgun snap. He has the ball. Now he has to move the ball to where he's usually carrying it. Now he's carrying it down. But what happens? The Tennessee defense, they go and they strip the ball and come up with the turnover. This is what the Tennessee defense does. They attack from every angle, and they told us yesterday, no matter who's back in the quarterback position, we will attack them and put pressure on them.
And a 1st and 10 for Tennessee at the 29-yard line of Cleveland after the turnover by Prentice. McNair under center, wide check, in motion, and George gets the call. George with a shake and bake move, trying to break loose, and he picks up yards running that left side. Dalen McCutcheon making the tackle. And it's a gain of 6. Steve McNair. Some felt he would not even play last week in the blowout victory over Cincinnati. Not only did he play, had probably his best game of the year with 3 touchdown passes.
And what a tough competitor. A knee injury, an ankle injury, didn't practice at the beginning of the week, didn't practice the entire week, goes into the game and just performs. And that's what you have to have, a gritty performer as your general at the quarterback position.
The fullback Lorenzo Neal exits the field. He's now on the sideline, and George is by himself in the backfield. On 2nd and 4, swing pass. Here's George catching cleanly, breaking a tackle, and stumbling ahead for a modest gain. Courtney Brown cut him down low to make the stop. And let's take a look at Tennessee's offense. Pro Bowlers on that left side. Brad Hopkins goes to his first. Bruce Matthews goes to his 13th straight. Long, Olsen, and Miller round out the offensive line. Eddie George is in the Pro Bowl for the 4th. Derek Mason goes as a return specialist. And Frank Wycheck goes for the 3rd consecutive year. On 3rd down, Yancey Thigpen sets up as a receiver. 3rd one on the field. Wycheck also goes out in a pattern. And a quick throw to the sideline brought in by Sanders. And let's see where they spot it. Very close to a 1st down. From this angle, it appears to be a little bit short. And Cleveland not happy with where the ball was spotted.
In a situation like this, particularly receivers on the outside, you can't look at the field of play to find out where the marker is. You have to look behind you to the sidelines and look where the marker is. It's slippery out there. He has to come back to make the reception. This is going to be very close, but you have to be heady on the field of play to look to the sidelines to find out where that 1st down marker is.
Bring out the chains and extend. Short. Ball is spotted on the 19-yard. It'll be 4th and a little bit less than a yard. And they are going to go for it. In these conditions, why not?
You have to. When you've got a big physical tailback and Eddie George, you know all he has to do is fall forward at the line of scrimmage and he will get this 1st down.
The field here at Cleveland Brown Stadium covered in snow. Tennessee Titans able to force Cleveland into a turnover. Travis Prentice. And now a 4th and less than a yard. George and Neal in the backfield. McNair may have gotten Cleveland off sides. Here's George with a juke move, and he comes up short. A long count by McNair, and Arnold Miller may have jumped.
Offside. Defense, number 99. 5-yard penalty results in the play, 1st down.
The reason why Steve McNair took his time at the line of scrimmage, because there's no one in the 0 hole over him. He was going to keep the ball in the quarterback keeper. Quarterbacks are taught this. All of a sudden, the defense for the Cleveland Browns, they shift, they cover the center at the last instant. Steve McNair has the audible out, but when he changes the cadence, he gets Cleveland to jump off sides.
And another mistake by the Cleveland Browns. It has plagued them throughout the season, this 3-12 campaign, wrapping things up against Tennessee here today. 1st and 10 now for Tennessee. Handoff. Eddie George looks for some room and is upended after he picks up 4 yards. Dalen McCutcheon making the tackle. Cleveland defensively comes in ranked 28th in the NFL. Keith McKenzie's had a fine season. Free agent from Green Bay, 8.5 sacks. Colonnay, Orpheus Roy, and Courtney Brown, the rookie, round out the defensive line. Changes at linebacker because of injuries. Marty Moore, Wally Rayner, Jameer Miller, the starting crew. And this group in the secondary has remained fairly healthy throughout the year. Ellsworth, Smith, and the veteran Corey Fuller. On 2nd down. It's a 2nd and 6. McNair can't handle the snap. And he is devoured in the backfield. McNair was forced to eat it after the ball hit the turf. Stalin Colonnay touched him down. It's a loss of 4.
Now, this is just a bad center quarterback exchange. Right here, keep an eye on Steve McNair. He pulls out, the ball's not in his hands, and that's just a mental error. It's not that wet out there. It is very cold, so you have to concentrate on getting your fundamentals down and get your basics down. Get the reception first, the handoff from the center to the quarterback.
If you're the Browns, though, Mark, you are loving this weather. This is an equalizer today.
Absolutely. This is fun weather. When you're a little kid and you're out there playing outside around Christmas time, the holidays, hey, you've got to remember days like this.
3rd and 10. Out of the shotgun, McNair looking to throw it. McNair steps up in the pocket. Now back, throwing. Too high. Intended receiver Chris Sanders. Incomplete in a matchup with Corey Fuller.
Now, and going back to that equalizer, you can't get your footing on a field like this. It's like playing on ice, and the offensive linemen can't get their footing. The defensive secondary, if you're a wide receiver, it's tough to run your routes because you cannot run precise routes. So it's difficult to practice under these circumstances. In this situation, you throw it to the back of the end zone. You want your receiver, Chris Sanders, to go up and get it, but Steve McNair just throws it out of the end zone.
Al Del Greco, kicking game could be so important here today. And Del Greco has had his ups and downs this year. A 33-yard attempt, hoping to get Tennessee on the board. Del Greco bangs it through, and the Titans score first. Take advantage of a turnover, and they lead the Browns 3-0. Jeff Fisher's team looking for a home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs.
I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak.
Owning a Jeep Cherokee means more than just freedom. It means you're part of something bigger. And now get all this for no extra charge.
We're all one family, one team, a football team, driving down Sold with,
1:13 left on the clock.
1 minute, 13 seconds left on the clock, and
No timeouts left.
no timeouts left because the coach has stupidly used them all up.
Football fans can find anything they need at Chicago's Electra Electronics, provided they have Visa. Because if you try to use American Express,
And we score!
you don't have a prayer.
Yeah!
Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
The holidays are jammed. Kansas collides with Ohio State, or Joe Forte leads North Carolina against Jason Capono and UCLA. Saturday on CBS.
It's going to take a little bit more than a broom to keep this field clean here today. The snow continues to fall. And the Tennessee Titans have a 3-0 lead on the Cleveland Browns. 10-11 mark of the first quarter. Ian Eagle, Mark May, our entire CBS crew with you from snowy Cleveland, Ohio. The Browns playing in their season finale. Their bye week coming week 17 for the second consecutive year. And looking to improve to 12-3 and move one step closer to wrapping up the #1 seed in the postseason AFC. They remain one game ahead of Baltimore in the AFC Central, and that Oakland loss changes things a bit in the playoff picture, Mark. Now Denver has a chance to move up and get a home game early.
And for the Denver Broncos, the way they've been able to come on, particularly running the ball with Mike Anderson, the rookie, and winning game after game through the month of November, I think they put a lot of pressure on the Oakland Raiders.
Hendrick, bouncing kick, fielded by Earl Little. Little cutting middle of the field, and he is spun down. Loose football again. Keith Bullock came in, and the Cleveland Browns recover it with Salah. It's a 13-yard return right around the 25-yard line. This thing has been ugly. We played about 4 minutes of football. We'll come back to Cleveland. Browns have the football when we return.
This is Tito. He's here to see the Johnson's vacation photos. Oh! Mr. Johnson has the iOmega Photo Show. It lets him enjoy digital photos on TV. He doesn't even need a computer. Neat! The Johnsons save their photos on a zip disk. Mrs. Johnson says it's the photo album of the future. Would Tito like a copy? No, thank you. Photo show? Zip. Zip it.
The affordable Jeep Cherokee. How will you send in your low monthly payment? Now get all this at no extra charge.
And now at Zales, you'll find exquisite diamond and platinum jewelry. Your choice, only $199. Twinkling lights seem to put everyone in the holiday spirit. At Zales stores nationwide or shop online at Zales.com.
I know what you're thinking, you and her, right? Wrong! You look like you shaved with a belt sander. Here's a tip, Panasonic Sonic Shaving. That's 13,000 RPMs of pure speed and power. Panasonic Sonic Shaving. Now you're up to speed. Kids.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. IBM, taking e-business and your business to the next level. And by Chrysler, we're reinventing the passion for driving.
The wind is whipping here. Tennessee leads the Browns 3-0. 10 minutes to play in the first quarter. First and 10 for the Browns from their own 24. Handoff. Jamel White looks for a hole, and he is trampled out after a gain of 2. Cleveland Browns offensively changes on the offensive line because of injuries, and the big one to Dave Woolabaugh in the middle, missing his 4th consecutive game. Sean O'Hara's done a good job. Chris Palmer has been very happy with the way that he stepped in. Backs and receivers, Travis Prentice, 2-touchdown attempt last week against Philadelphia with Kevin Johnson, who lined up at quarterback last week, starting with David Patton, and Aaron Shea as the tight end. 2nd and 8. Tennessee crowding the line of scrimmage. Misdirection. Here's Peterson connecting with Aaron Shea, but is unable to push the football forward, and he picks up only 3 yards. Marcus Robertson was all over that, the free safety. Tell you about the Tennessee defense. Pro Bowler on that defensive line, it's Javon Kirsch. Kenny Holmes missing another game. Sure told us he expects him back next week. Henry Ford stepping in at defensive end. Linebackers, what a performance by Randall Gottfried last week. He was asked to mirror Corey Dillon, and he did exactly that with 13 tackles in the win over Cincinnati. Samari Rolle going to the Pro Bowl for the first time, and Blaine Bishop going to his 4th Pro Bowl, the strong safety for Tennessee. On a 3rd and 5, shotgun for Peterson. Steps up, zings one to the sideline, and a sliding catch made by White, and it's ruled incomplete. He couldn't bring it in cleanly. Godfrey had the coverage.
And pressure at the end of the play by Javon Kirsch, and I spoke with Javon Kirsch just before the game. He said the biggest problem that he will have is his footing on the field today. He went to the University of Florida. He said, I'm not used to playing in this cold. I said, you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy it. He said, not really. I can't wait till it's over.
Gardocki will punt it. Came close to going to the Pro Bowl himself. Darren Bennett was named punter for the AFC, and Gardocki able to spin one forward. Takes a strange bounce and is down right around the 35-yard line. That's where Tennessee will have it. They already have a 3-0 lead.
I can't do anything without the instructions. Nothing.
It's okay. She's got other presents.
They were just here. They're right here. I just had them.
We'll just hide this till her birthday.
She's been wanting this for a long time. If I only had those instructions.
You looked in the box?
I looked in there.
Did you take everything out of it?
Oh, here they are.
Primary crossover valve, open, tank B inlet, closed.
Venture 7, your mission is complete. It's time to come home. Good man, hurry back. We've got some ice-cold Bud Lights and waiting for you.
Hey, Larry, did you get those rocks in?
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light.
Where's Smith? Catching later flight, sir.
I want you to get together.
Players! This is a week. It is playoff time! You don't know if you're coming back to the top next year. You don't even know if you're coming back. So come on now, show me something!
Congratulations to Everybody Loves Raymond on its 2 People's Choice nominations.
You know what I think?
If I say yes, do you still have to tell me?
Everybody Loves Raymond, CBS Monday.
Kurt Warner has no room for wiggle. He's got to come out firing like an MVP.
The NFL Today, Sunday on CBS.
Titans had a season-high 443 offense last week. They will be hard-pressed to match that number here today in snowy Cleveland. Titans defensive players just trying to stay warm on the sidelines as Tennessee gets the football back. A 1st and 10 at their own 35. George is in the backfield. Wycheck goes in motion. McNair on the give. Here's Eddie George up the middle, and he is met by McKenzie. No gain on the play.
Tennessee offense went with their power. They pulled their left guard, and he couldn't make the block, and that's Benji Olsen.
Well, the Cleveland defense has given up big rushing games, and it's fitting that we would have the snow motif. We don't have the Alps here in Cleveland, but you see the numbers against this Cleveland defense. Fred Taylor had the big day, 181 yards. Romeo Crennel, defensive coordinator of the Browns, has done the best he can do with a group of players, not much depth. They have shown improvement. This pass is dropped by Wycheck, and fortunate that it was not returned for a touchdown as he popped it up in the air. And you know there is bad blood with Frank Wycheck. The statements that he made following the game the last time these two teams played on November the 19th, a 24-10 victory. Tennessee turned it over 7 times. Wycheck basically said after the game, hey, if we didn't turn it over, we blow this team out. They didn't belong on the same field as us. He retracted his statements this week.
And a lot of players, and of course he's going to retract it the week that you played that opponent, but a lot of these players had a lot of pride on this Cleveland Brown defense. Corey Fuller is one of them, and he brought that up to us. He said he didn't forget the comments that Frank Wycheck made.
Wycheck tried to back away from the comments this week, said they were misconstrued. 3rd and 10. Inside handoff. Eddie George keeps the legs churning, but it's a gain of only 3. Stalin Collinet making the tackle up the middle, and Tennessee will punt.
And for the Cleveland Brown defense, they're a very good defense on 1st down, but they're horrendous on 3rd down. And what they want to do is they want to put pressure on quarterback Steve McNair on 3rd down situations, but also with that pass rush, make sure that they close the pocket. If they hand it off to Eddie George, they have enough hats around him to make the tackle. Romeo Crennel wants to put pressure on this offense as much as possible. When you have bad weather games, you want to make sure you get 7 and 8 men in the box to try to stop the run.
Craig Hentrick to punt it. Lamar Chapman is standing at the 20. He's the rookie out of Kansas State. He loses the football, and Tennessee has recovered. 4 fumbles already in the 1st quarter. Cleveland has lost 2 of them. Rodney Thomas, the recovery on special teams.
And for the Cleveland Browns, they just have to hang on to the football. Plain and simple, protect the football. In weather like this, a lot of the players are wearing long sleeves. Well, if you're not used to wearing long sleeves all the time, you have to become conducive of it. You have to squeeze the ball with both. The Cleveland Browns are just putting the ball on the ground. And if you look at the Tennessee Titans, a lot of their players aren't wearing the long sleeves. They're going out there, and they're used to that.
2nd forced fumble by Greg Favors. Browns have now fumbled the ball 3 times. They've turned it over twice, and great field position for Tennessee. On a 1st and 10 at the 27. Here's the toss for George. Eddie George trying to get it to the outside. And George angles his way to the sideline as he picks up 7.
Now that's what I like. I like the wide receivers like Eddie George. He's a throwback guy. He's not wearing long sleeves out there. He's protecting the football. He's used to it. He's used to having that leather football against his skin. He doesn't want to take a chance of wearing a thermal on top of his skin. But for Eddie George, he's used to this type of weather. Went to Ohio State. When we spoke with him the other night, he told us, hey, I love this kind of weather. I wouldn't expect anything less. December in Cleveland, you expect it to be cold, to snow, and wind.
George had the 1 rushing touchdown last week against Cincinnati. Had 2 touchdowns receiving his first 2. Tennessee leading it 3-0, 6.5 to play in the 1st. Handoff, George tripped up. Had nowhere to run. Arnold Miller in on the stop. It's a loss of 1. It'll bring up 3rd and 4.
For the Cleveland Browns, they're doing an excellent job of getting penetration in the backfield. Their defensive front 5 are getting deep enough in the backfield that Eddie George just stumbles over the foot of Tyrone Rogers. That's what the Cleveland Browns have to do. They have to make sure that they at least get the orange hats of the Browns in the offensive backfield of the Tennessee Titans.
On 3rd down, Tennessee from the 21-yard line. Shotgun for McNair. Steps up, throws, timing pattern to the end zone. Incomplete, and a flag down. Chris Sanders and Corey Fuller, the matchup in the corner.
That's easy enough to tell. That'll be defensive pass interference on Corey Fuller. Never turned and looked, had his hands all over Chris.
Fuller is still jawing at the side judge.
Pass interference. defense, number 24. As the foul occurred in the end zone, the ball will be placed at the 1-yard line, automatic first down.
And at the top of the screen, Corey Fuller never turns to face the ball. When the wide receiver turns, you're supposed to turn all the way around. Here he has contact even before the ball gets there, and that's where the infraction occurs.
A 3 tight end formation for Tennessee on a 1st and goal from the 1. So the Titans take advantage of another turnover and are an extra point away from taking a 10-0 lead. They've not done much offensively, but still with a 10-point bulge.
They haven't had to, and here it's just winning the attack. You get 2 tight ends, smash mouth football, goal line situation, and you pound it in with a big running back. That's Jeff Fisher's forte on offense. Hey, he's going to put all the weight on the shoulders of his running back, Eddie George. In a situation like that, bad weather game like this, there's no question. Hand it to Eddie George and pound the football in, and they do it in 1 attempt.
11th rushing touchdown of the season for Eddie George. Al Del Greco curls in the extra point. And the Titans in front, 10-0. A flag down and a skirmish after the extra point from Del Greco. Able to break things up. Extra point counts, and Tennessee extends its lead. We'll come back to Cleveland in a moment.
Sponsored by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service. And by Circuit City. Circuit City. Imagine that.
One-yard touchdown run for Eddie George, and Tennessee leads Cleveland 10-0 here in the first quarter. Titans will kick it off. A 3-play, 27-yard drive after the turnover from Lamar Chapman, his first NFL punt return. And he coughs it up. Could be his last NFL punt return. Well, at least for the year 2000. Taken on a bounce. Tariq Salah. And they push the pile forward. Out across the 40-yard line, a 15-yard return. Is Frank Wycheck a marked man here today?
Yes, he is. The comments that he made about the Cleveland Browns saying they didn't deserve to be on the field with him, and the defensive secondary, those players looking at personally. Earl Little's over there. Corey Fuller had him earlier, and Percy Ellsworth's in the middle of that. But they're letting them know right away it's going to be a long afternoon for Frank Wycheck.
First meeting was a 24-10 Tennessee victory. 7 Titan turnovers, and a personal foul has been assessed against Tennessee.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 35. He kicked a player, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. Number 35 has been ejected from the game.
And Jeff Fisher just gave Perry Phoenix a mouthful.
And he should have, because to kick a player on the field, first, it's a stupid penalty. You never kick anyone. You know you're going to be ejected out of the game, which he has been and he should be. And Jeff Fisher's hostile because he just let Perry Phoenix know, 1, we're not that type of football team. We're not a dirty football team. And 2, we play smart football. And 3, you just cost us. So go ahead and go to the locker room.
Already down in the secondary with the injury to Danon. Marcus Robertson is not 100%. He's been banged up with a leg injury. And a 1st and 10 for Cleveland in Tennessee territory. Handoff goes up the middle for Travis Prentice. And no gain on the play. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 45 as Greg Favors makes the stop. Perry Phoenix being escorted.
Well, there's good and bad for Perry Phoenix. 1, he's going to get fined. 2, he's not going to play in this game. But 3, at least he'll be warm inside of the locker room.
Yeah, he's out of the cold, but you try to balance those out.
I think he's going to hear a lot from him.
I think the bad outweighs the good in this particular situation for Perry Phoenix. Now in his 3rd year out of Southern Mississippi, free agent, signed back in 1998. Here's Prentice, able to find an opening and pushes himself forward for a gain of 3. Greg Favors again makes this, coming over from his left linebacking position.
And you look at this Tennessee defense, they really don't get respect around the NFL. You hear about Javon Curse, but you don't hear about the other players on this team. Samari Rolle had an outstanding season, his first Pro Bowl this season. Denard Walker, Blaine Bishop, Marcus Robinson, Randall Godfrey. That is a player that I believe should be in Hawaii at the end of the season. He has one heck of a season this year, and he is their man in the middle.
Now, but who do you want to replace, Ray Lewis or Sam Cowher? Can't do it.
They should send 3 then.
4-yard gain for Prentice, working off that right side, and Eddie Robinson will be given credit for the tackle. It'll be 4th and 3. Browns fans want this team to go for it. And Jeff Fisher calling out to his defense and now his special teams to get ready.
And at this point of the season for the Cleveland Browns, why not go for it? You've used a bunch of gimmick and gadget plays last week. You've tried a few this game.
And you're not, either offense is going to be able to move the football here, so even if you turn it over at the 39-yard line, you have to feel like you might be able to stop them. Chris Gardocki looking for the corner, takes a roll, and inside the 5, it's down. There's the other option. Pin the Titans back and make them earn it. Turns out to be the right decision after the 36-yard punt. Now, the fans that did show up here in Cleveland are a spirited group. Now they're rooting on their defense. 1st and 10 for Tennessee from their own 4-yard line. Titans lead it 10-0, 3.5 to play in the first quarter. Eddie George is in the backfield, out of the end zone on the draw play. It's George up the middle in a big hole. George accelerates, and he crosses the 15-yard line for a gain of 12. Lorenzo Neal with a key block up front.
You're absolutely right, Ian. Keep an eye on the fullback Lorenzo Neal right here. He's going to go one-on-one in the middle of the hole, gets great leverage, gets down low, right into Wally Rayner, and throws an excellent block on the middle linebacker and just drives him out of the way, allowing Eddie George to pick up the big yard.
You know, it's funny. You asked Jeff Fisher, is there somebody on his team that he felt should be in Hawaii? First name that came out of his mouth, Steve McNair. He felt that Steve McNair deserved a Pro Bowl berth. Get into that in a second. Another draw play. George this time trying to spin off a tackle, and he was able to lunge forward to pick up about a yard. Marty Moore makes the stop. What do you think when Fisher told that to us yesterday?
Well, I think when you break it down, I think a lot has to be added in. One, the team's record, how the quarterback's playing. If you look at him just based on numbers of Steve McNair, he doesn't deserve to go. But it's the other intangibles. He plays hurt. He guides his team to victory. And you look at some of the other quarterbacks like a Brian Greasy, phenomenal numbers, but he missed almost a month and still voted him into the Pro Bowl. I don't think that's right.
That would be the one guy you could make a case for, because Rich Gannon and Peyton Manning deserve to be there. Another give for Eddie George, and George runs into the pile. Rayner and Marty Moore combine to make that stop after he picks up a couple.
And one thing for sure you're not going to see out of any of the running backs today, a lot of moves. You're not going to see any shiftiness on the field today. It's going to be downhill, straight ahead, hit the hole, power running. And I think that's where Tennessee has a big advantage over the Cleveland Browns. They don't have that type of back, that type of offensive line, or the mentality. The Browns aren't old school like the Titans are. Look at the Titans from their head coach down. This is an old school football team. Reminds me of the Redskins in the NFC East in the 80s.
3rd and 5 now. Shotgun formation. McNair steps up, wants to run it himself. Here's McNair. Tackled from behind, and he's got the first down for Tennessee. Courtney Brown with good lateral movement to get to McNair, but it was too late. New set of downs for Tennessee to work with.
This is a nice call by offensive coordinator Mike Heimerdinger. This play is set up from the start. Steve McNair is supposed to set back, let the linebackers drop into their zones. Jameer Miller just runs to the outside. He doesn't even know it's a quarterback keeper. He gets excellent blocking at the point of attack up the field to play. Look at the offensive lineman, Long. Everybody down the field, the center, pushing defenders down the field, protecting their quarterback.
And McNair is closing in on 400 yards rushing this season. Floats one out upstairs and incomplete. Derek Mason one-on-one with Dalen McCutcheon. It'll be 2nd and 10 with under a minute to play in the first.
Now, and two things with this wind and this cold weather. One, you're not going to see timing patterns and precise routes. You're going to see a wide receiver is going to get wide open because a defensive back is going to slip, or the ball's going to be thrown up for grabs, and one of the two has to come down and fight for it.
The sweeping continues on the sideline here in Cleveland. Snow continues to fall, expected throughout the first half, taper off in the second half. George gets the call up the middle, and a crowd of Cleveland defenders in to make the play. A gain of 1. Darius Holland helping to lead that charge for the Browns.
And for these Tennessee Titans, in weather like this, and I played in a lot of bad weather games like this, particularly late in the season, they've got the counter tray in their bag of tricks. And that's a play where you pull your backside, you block down onside. And what that does in bad weather fields like this and sloppy conditions, it opens up lanes for the running back, huge lanes. All you need is one good kickout block, and you're going to allow the back to go north and south.
You just hope the footing is good enough to take advantage of it for George or Rodney Thomas if he gets the call. A 4-receiver look on a 3rd and 9. Operating out of the shotgun. Should be the final play of the first, and McNair is sacked. Raheem Abdullah, and a flag down. We believe that's Chris Palmer, the head coach of the Browns, right there.
It looks like him.
We'll have to get confirmation. A face mask called against Cleveland.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number 78 defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Tyrone Rogers, first-year player. Even when the Browns experience a little bit of success, something like this happens.
And that's what happens to a team when things aren't going right for you. You get a big play on the outside by Raheem Abdullah, and something happens inside that's ridiculous, where you grab a face mask of a player. There's no need for that, particularly if you're rushing the passer.
Tennessee would have punted. Instead, the Browns hand them a first down. It's the end of the first quarter. Tennessee leading Cleveland 10-0. We'll come back to Cleveland Browns Stadium after this message. Notice the opening moments of the second quarter. Welcome back to Cleveland, everybody. Iron Eagle, Mark May, with our entire crew. A December day in Cleveland, Ohio. And the Titans and Browns dealing with the elements as McNair hands it off to Eddie George. A 1st and 10 from the 41. George breaks 2 tackles and cuts it to the outside. Ridden out of bounds after a gain of 10. Marquis Smith was the man that drove him to the sideline. Now, the Titans are kind of like the anti-Buccaneers, the way that they've played in cold weather conditions.
Absolutely, but to me, 48 degrees, that's not cold. I want to know what it's like 25 degrees and colder. Tell me one of those stats. I want one of those graphics. They just don't get an opportunity to play in that many bad weather games. But, hey, Jeff Fisher, their coach, playing in Chicago, he played in a lot of cold weather games.
George so far, 12 carries, 47 yards. He does have the touchdown and a clump of snow combined with grass on his helmet. McNair throws underneath the coverage and complete. It's ruled a catch for Yancey Thigpen. Corey Fuller had the coverage, 9 yards, and a little bit short of a first down.
Nice protection for quarterback Steve McNair. He puts a little mustard on this pass, and that is a catch by Yancey Thigpen. Great concentration on the outside. For Yancey Thigpen to come back in this offense, had a huge touchdown reception last week. Just one of it, took it away from 2 Cincinnati defenders and ran it in for the touchdown.
2nd and 1 from the 40. It's George. Stumbles forward. Will it be enough for the first down? Arnold Miller got him down low as George was trying to circle his way up the middle.
Eddie's got to take that clump of grass off his helmet there.
I like it.
It looks good for now, but it's going to be a problem later. Look at his jersey. Now, that's a Warrior. His jersey's ripped in the back. There's holes on the side of it. He's getting a lot of big hits out there, but he's a Warrior. You got to like a player like him because he plays hurt. He plays every week. He's never missed a start in his NFL career.
Played at Ohio State. We figured he would have a number of friends coming for this game. He said, no, not really. The Titans play Cincinnati. That's when he gets the call from the former college chums. Flag down. George, again, nowhere to go. But he didn't get it on a 3rd and 1 from the 40. Courtney Brown there to make sure he didn't hit the marker. But as mentioned, a flag on the play.
And Steve McNair, that's the 2nd time with his voice inflection at the line of scrimmage got
defense, number 73, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Got the Cleveland Browns to jump off sides.
It's the 3rd time that Tennessee would have punted, potentially.
Eddie George trying to take it off. Let me see. Let me get it off. It's in my eye. It's in my ear. And hey, there's my buddy Lorenzo Neal. Hey, Lorenzo, my fullback. Get that off. Brush it away. Has his finger in there. Pushes a little bit away. Just grab the whole thing with your hand, Lorenzo. Pull it down.
That'd be easier said than done. That thing is lodged in pretty tight. And a first up from the 35. Play fake. McNair throwing on the run. Wide open. Derek Mason turns it upfield, and Mason is spun down inside the 5. Tennessee is moving the football, and Corey Fuller brought him down to the ground after a 33-yard hookup.
And what a phenomenal route by Derek Mason. And what he does is he sits down on this play. They go with a fake boot. Watch the running back, Eddie George. He'll slip on the play. He doesn't even get a block. But Steve McNair has the presence of mind of moving the pocket, rolling away. He sees Derek Mason sitting down wide open, and Mason turns and plants and uses his hand for balance and picks up the additional yardage for the Tennessee Titans.
And Mason is closing in on the all-purpose yardage record held by Lionel Little Train James. 1st and goal now. Tennessee with a chance to add to its lead. Here's the pitch. George trying to break a tackle, circling, and spins his way in. Touchdown, Tennessee. Roy could not bring him down before the goal line. And George with his 2nd rushing touchdown of the day. Titans a point after away from a 17-0 advantage.
And for Orpheus Roy, with a big full running back like Eddie George, you have to get him low. If you're going to try to tackle him high around the shoulders, he's not going to go down. He's just going to stiff arm you just like that. A nice straight arm, then he just rolls into the end zone and uses his strength and spins into the end zone. But for Orpheus Roy, when you get a big running back like that, you have to go at his legs and bring him down.
Now remember where that drive started. Cleveland had pinned Tennessee at their own 4. And they went 96 yards to add to the lead. Extra point for Al Del Greco. Eddie George being worked on the sideline. They're operating on George. He's operating on Cleveland. 17-0 Tennessee leading Cleveland. 2nd rushing touchdown of the day for Eddie George. It's like the $6 million man. We can rebuild him, Steve Austin.
It's like knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, but really they don't have a seamstress on the sidelines. What that is, that's the equipment managers, and equipment managers are used to doing this because it's much easier just to sew it up on the sidelines and change your jersey at halftime than to change your jersey on the sidelines.
It's like a cut man. In the corner for the Tennessee Titans. Hendrick kicks it off after the touchdown and taken by the up man Mark Edwards. Edwards cutting it to the sideline and finally brought down close to midfield by Terry Killens from behind. Browns have good field position. They have no points to show for their effort so far at 17-0.
Sponsored by Honda, a winning lineup of cars, sport utility vehicles, and minivans. Interstate batteries, power fast, built to last. And by American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express do more.
Tennessee 17, Cleveland nothing. Snow continues to come down in sheets here in Cleveland.
Sorry.
And the Browns have a 1st and 10 at their own 48-yard line for Doug Peterson, among the 7 quarterbacks who have been in uniform this year for the Cleveland Browns. An amazing number, an inordinate amount of injuries for the Browns to deal with this year. Jamel White on the carry, but a flag thrown.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 82, 5-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
David Patton called on that one a false start for Cleveland.
Man, those are the penalties that drive a coach crazy. If you're a wide receiver on the outside, you don't move until the ball moves. You can't hear the quarterback's cadence. That should never happen.
Already 6 penalties on the Browns, costing them better than starts in a 1st and 15. Here's White. Wants a blocker, but spinning his way to the outside, and the Tennessee Titans converge, including Blaine Bishop. No call. Well, we talked about the Browns' injuries this year, and Tim Couch, Ty Detmer, the rest of the fun bunch there on the sideline. 14 players on injured reserve for Chris Palmer and company, and really, Mark, one of the reasons why Palmer should be back next year. He has not played with a full deck.
No, he hasn't. When you lose your starting quarterback, your backup quarterback, your starting running back, wide receivers, offensive linemen, it's not fair. And this team doesn't have any depth. 2nd year back in expansion, how do you expect them to compete with that many injuries?
Peterson sets up as a receiver. High snap for Jamel White. And White looking to run it out of the shotgun formation. Jason Fisk brings him down. And no gain. The trickery is not working now for Cleveland. Tennessee was able to get a glance at what they were doing last week.
They've got Jamal White, the backup running back, in the queue, the quarterback position, and it's a high snap. He does field it, but Tennessee's just going after him. Javon Curse on the outside makes him run the ball straight ahead. But here's the key. These plays and these trick plays, they were nice, they were effective last week when they were in a good weather game. Now in a game like this, I think they should bag it and just go back to their basic offense.
Browns with 20 yards of total offense. And here's Peterson on 3rd and 15. Fires incomplete. Patton with a sliding attempt. And it would have been a big gainer for Cleveland. Samari Roll and Marcus Robertson had coverage as Patton found a lane.
Now this is just David Patton just running down the seam. This is a ball he should catch. He hears the footsteps of Marcus Robertson. That's a ball that you have to come down with. You're going across the middle, no one's next to you, you get a hand on it. That should be a reception for the Cleveland Browns.
Patton's already set a career high with 35 catches this season, number 36. Would have been a bonus for the Browns offensively. Gardocki gets it away, left-footed punter. Takes a strange bounce as it sails through the air, and Cleveland again has downed it inside the 5 with Bobby Brown, the wide receiver, touching it up after the 53-yard punt. Had some weird English on that ball off the foot of Gardocki. We'll step aside. Tennessee pinned in its own territory once again. Tennessee with a 17-0 lead over Cleveland. They will start this drive at the 4.
At the 4-yard line, the ball will be placed at that spot, first down.
Well, there you have it. 4-yard line will be the line of scrimmage. On a winter afternoon in Cleveland, Ohio. Christmas came a little bit early. 1st and 10 for Tennessee. They took it 96 yards for a touchdown their last drive. And now here's McNair changing the play at the line of storming Sanders and Mason. George is in the backfield. McNair floats it up high and caught by Wycheck, and he's spun down. No gain, maybe 1, depending upon where they spot it. Raheem Abdullah able to wrap him up.
This is an area that Tennessee really wanted to work on, is first down. They had a tough time on first down against Cleveland in the first game. Even though they won the game, Cleveland stuffed them on first down passes, first down run. Jeff Fisher told us point blank, that's one of the areas we emphasized practicing that we worked on this week, is getting yardage on first down.
It was Stalin Colonnade with a tackle on Wycheck after the catch and a 2nd and 10. Handoff. George drives forward and picks up 2. Just about everybody involved defensively for Cleveland, including Keith McKenzie. And the clock continues to roll as we come up on 9 minutes to play in the first half.
This is one of those PP games in the trenchy, meaning push-pull. You have to get into your blocks, you have to grab a hold, and you have to stay on the defenders and keep moving your feet, because there aren't going to be those big gaping, gashing holes there. You're just going to have to keep pushing the pile.
Call it a 3rd and 7. McNair so far throwing 5 of 8, 45 yards. Draw play. George finds the opening, and George trying to break it to the outside. It's enough for a first down. Todd Franz with the stop, and a 10-yard gain for George. New set of downs for Tennessee.
And the reason why they play so successful, watch the cut that Eddie George makes. He goes straight ahead, boom, right there, cuts all the way to his left, runs away from the tacklers of the Cleveland Browns, and then it's just power running. Tremendous vision by Eddie George. He sees there's nothing onside where he wants to take it and cuts it back to the open area.
16 carries, 62 yards. And the line of scrimmage is now the 17. George has been the workhorse here in the first half. Up the middle, George bowling over a tackler. And Eddie George able to carry for a gain of 8. Percy Ellsworth the stop. Let's get an NFL update right now. We go to New York and Jim Nance.
Hi, and the Broncos, Denver at Arrowhead. Let's go back to you.
The door is open, Jim, because of Oakland's loss against Seattle yesterday. Controversial ending there with a safety call. Here's George. Unable to cut it upfield, and George had to deal with the onslaught of Cleveland tacklers. It's a loss of 1. Wally Rayner combining with Marcus Spriggs.
When I talk about this Tennessee offense, they don't get a lot of notoriety because they're grinders. They get their 3 or 4 yards. They keep pushing it upfield. They win by 3 points or 4 points. They're not a team like a Louis Rand team that scores 40 or 50 points. But the bottom line is they just continue to win football games.
Well, Tennessee is hoping this is the last time that they play away from Nashville until Tampa in late January. If they can lock up home field advantage throughout, Adelphia Coliseum is a tough place for a visitor to perform. And a 3rd and 3 for the Titans. George runs into a crowd, and he is not going to come close. First man there, Marcus Spriggs. And no gain for Eddie George. And again, some extracurricular activities.
And there's Frank Wycheck right in the middle of it again.
Derek Mason was pulled away from the crowd.
You know, and this is one of those instances where maybe we're seeing a rivalry develop in the AFC Centrals, because Tennessee, they had which they've been able to defeat Jacksonville a lot, and then Pittsburgh. That was the rival. Now the Baltimore Ravens. Now Cleveland's got a chip on their shoulder in this game.
But another flag. Should be a punting situation for Tennessee, and it will be. A personal foul called on the Titans. Already the Browns have made some mistakes in situations where they would have gotten the football back, ending Tennessee drives. And now Mason is pleading his case to Jeff Fisher. Had a chance to talk to Derek Mason, and what a year it's been.
Unnecessary roughness on the offense. The penalty is declined. 4th down.
Titans will punt it. Mason has really come into his own this year, not only as a return specialist, but because of the injuries at wide receiver, Mason has taken it up to another level.
And it's just opportunities. When we talk to him, he's gotten an opportunity. He had a big year his rookie year. Then he kind of got lost in the shuffle. They brought in Yancey Thigpen, drafted a few players, and they bring in Carl Pickens this year. You know, he thought he might here, but because of his return ability and because the way that he played during the injuries, he's now become a star in Tennessee. Chapman,
he will get another crack, this time a fair catch, and he had some room to work with. They'll spot the football right around the 36. Titans in front, 17-0.
Don't hang around and let your problems surround you. There's no movie shows downtown. Maybe you know some little place to go where they never close. Downtown, just listen to the rhythm of a gentle bossa nova. Be dancing with them too before the night is over. Happy again.
Yes, is sponsored by Gateway. In Gateway country, people rule. And by the world's fastest shaver, Panasonic Saving. Get up to speed.
70-0, Tennessee leading Cleveland. For a complete breakdown of all playoff scenarios, including updates at the conclusion of each game, click on NFL at cbs.sportsline.com. Browns have the football, a 1st and 10 at their own 37-yard line. You know, Chris Palmer talked about all the injuries at quarterback. They give out T-shirts now that say QB School, just trying to teach the system to all these new QBs coming in. Hand off for Travis Prentice, and Prentice able to break one tackle. Blaine Bishop brings him down after a gain of 5. This is nothing new, though, Mark, for Doug Peterson. Back in 1995, as a member of the Green Bay Packers, there were 6 QBs at one point on that roster.
And that's what happens in the NFL. Those 6 quarterbacks, Brett Favre, Ty Detmer, who's here in Cleveland, Jim McMahon, Doug Peterson, Mike McCoy, and T.J.
7 QBs so far this season for Cleveland, including Jeff Brom, who was signed earlier in the week. Peterson flares one to the outside, and David Patton. First down for the Browns. And he crosses the 45. Bernard Walker makes the stop. And it is their first down of the day, and that's why you're getting the reaction from the crowd.
They're into it. They are definitely Cleveland Browns fans. And last week, they were giving this team standing ovation, particularly the offensive team. And here, just for a first down, and even quarterback Doug Peterson says, hey, we're moving the chains. First time today.
Well, they had 25 first downs last week, and that loss to Philadelphia, only 3 the week before against Jacksonville. Peterson in the pocket. Steps up, has the protection, and tried to hit Shea in stride. Incomplete. Eddie Robinson, the linebacker, had the coverage one-on-one. Just under 5 minutes to play now, first half.
Now, a player for this Cleveland Browns offense that needs to think for the offense is Kevin Johnson. led all rookies last year with 8 touchdown receptions, has 0 this year, but you really can't blame it on him. He's had so many quarterbacks to work with, but at least you have to attempt to get him the football.
Now, Johnson told us, despite all the problems this year at the quarterback position, he feels like he's gotten better from year 1 to year 2 as a receiver, and his numbers are respectable. 55 catches, 666 yards. The give to Prentice, and trying to sidestep, unable to do so. A gain of 1. Tennessee was ready for that play defensively. Clock continues to roll now. 17-0. The Titans leading the Browns. Tennessee, destiny in their own hands. If they win out the rest of the way, Titans will be the #1 seed in the AFC.
And as a player, that's the way you want it. You want it plain and simple, stick it in front of you. This is what you have to do. Home field advantage is so important in the playoffs. You don't have to travel. You have your home fans behind you, and you're used to what happens in your stadium. It's your own mode that you're in.
We have subtitles for you today. Ball at midfield, just to give you an idea of where things stand on a snowy Cleveland Browns stadium field. Timeout called by Cleveland. 17-0 Titans. Special edition of the NFL on CBS, featuring Fred Taylor and the resurgent Jacksonville Jaguars taking on Kerry Collins and the playoff-hungry New York Giants. Check it out next Saturday here on CBS. On a 3rd and 9 from the 50, Peterson will operate out of the shotgun. Here's Peterson. Too low and incomplete. He was looking for Bobby Brown, the rookie out of Notre Dame. And the Browns will punt it again.
And the pressure on the outside by Greg Favors comes across and nails quarterback Doug Peterson, but Bobby Brown, this ball's thrown low, and this is the reason why. They run a T stunt on the outside. Just come around, no one touches him. He's got a clear path to Doug Peterson, and he's got to get rid of the ball a lot earlier than he'd like to.
2 returners are back deep for Tennessee as Chris Gardocki will punt it. Mason, the normal returner, and Yancey Thigpen is there as well. Here's Mason, unable to field it initially. Now Mason trying to create after the catch. Here's Mason. Getting to the sideline, hurdling, and Mason is finally forced out of bounds. Good job by Derek Mason just to pick up positive yardage. It's a 14-yard gain.
Just to field the ball, he doesn't do it cleanly, but he gets up and he makes something happen out of nothing. That's why he's going to the Pro Bowl. He deserved it this year. Picks up blockers, he gets blockers, the blockers come back. He told us when we talked to him, hey, the most important thing on a return man, the guys that are out there blocking for him. Forget about what I can do. If they don't block for me, I'm not going to pick up yardage. And they do an excellent job of blocking on this return.
And it sets up a 1st and 10 at the 27-yard line for Tennessee. Titans defense, what a role they have been on. They've given up just 2 touchdowns now in the past 17 quarters. Under 4 minutes left here in the first half. Line of scrimmage is the 27. And this play never gets off cleanly. Flags come down.
What happened on this play, everybody had the right cadence except the center.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Kevin Long.
Keep an eye on the center, Kevin Long. Now, everybody's got the cadence, but this guy right there, he's the guy with the ball. He needs to snap it. Watch everybody else move. There they go. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. He's going to go to the sidelines and tell Jeff Fisher, hey, I had the right cadence. They were all wrong. The other 10 guys, they were wrong.
I don't know if that excuse is going to fly, though. If everybody else
not far.
No.
But that's his case, and he's going to stick to it.
On a 1st and 15, back it up to the 22. George Neal. Draw play. Eddie George. On a stop and go up the middle, and George picks up 5. Darius Holland with the tackle for the Browns. Titans have been able to use clock. And the way things are going, 17 points probably will be enough against a Cleveland offense that has been unable to muster much. 20 carries, 74 yards, the 2 touchdown runs for Eddie George, going to his 4th Pro Bowl. Call it a 2nd and 10. Long count for McNair. Movement again at the line of scrimmage. And George emerging through a hole. George picks up the 1st down. If he was able to break the tackle of Todd Franz, that one would have turned into a huge gain. Browns are saying it's against Tennessee. Let's see.
defense,
Well,
number 90.
Browns are wrong.
Penalties decline. Result of the play, first down.
And that's the third time that Steve McNair's been able to get the defensive front of the Cleveland Browns to jump off sides. All they have to do is look at the ball, but if he changes his voice inflection at the line of scrimmage, he can get them jumping. A lot of quarterbacks work at it. Some quarterbacks are outstanding at it. Steve McNair's one of them.
McNair 3-0 against Cleveland in his career, but did have the 4 interceptions the last time these two teams met back in November. And a 1st and 10 for the Titans. McNair throwing into double coverage. And it's incomplete. He was looking for Derek Mason. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 38.
Right on the outside, he had Lorenzo Neal wide open. Maybe in the back of his mind, he's thinking after that touchdown reception where he beat that ball all over the place last week.
A little bit of a ricochet, yeah.
Maybe it's maybe we won't go to Lorenzo right now.
You know, we asked Eddie George if Lorenzo picked up a lot of flack after batting that ball around in the end zone and finally bringing it down. He said he did, but Eddie didn't dish it out. He said it was just too easy for him. So he let Lorenzo off the hook. Draw play. George breaking 2 tackles and spun down. George continues to work. And he works up the middle mostly here today. It's a gain of 9.
What the Tennessee Titans are doing to the Cleveland front and the Cleveland defense, they're breaking their will. Right now, they are saying at the line of scrimmage that we own the point of attack. We're dictating to you, and we have a big, strong running back. Once he breaks through the line of scrimmage, he's going to pick up additional yardage, and that's what Eddie George gives you.
Winded down to the 2-minute warning. George told us he likes this kind of weather. I don't know if he was expecting this in particular.
I don't know about the wind.
Yeah.
I think the cold he could handle, but it's awful windy down there.
Yeah, you know what? He's a man of his word, though. No long sleeves. And Joe on the job today. 22 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tennessee in front.
One more gift to buy? The big one? Well, for just $7.
Here in the second quarter from Cleveland. Coming up, the NASDAQ.com halftime report. Jim, Mike, and Jerry will have all the scores and highlights and all the latest playoff news, plus a report from the Indianapolis-Miami game. It's all coming up, the NASDAQ.com halftime report. Braving the elements, these Browns fans, dedicated group. And now a 3rd and 1 for Tennessee from the 47-yard line. Handoff, Eddie George, 1st down. And a little bit more as George puts the head down and is finally brought down from behind. Eddie George has gone over 100 yards rushing here in the first half with a pickup of 16.
Eddie charged some of the Cleveland Browns defenders a toll for this play.
And a face mask at the end of the play. Carrying the load on the season, and that's a pretty good sign to show you that George has had better performances in the 4th quarter if you break it down. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tennessee, nursing leads, will just give the ball to the dependable Eddie George in the 4th.
And plus, they wear the opposition down, and that's also key. And if you pound on them in the first couple of quarters, it takes its effect in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Had turf toe this week, and some thought he might not even play in this game. He's playing. He's playing well. George is bottled up by Wally Rayner, first man there, after a short gainer on 1st down.
Now, what was interesting when we talked with Eddie George, he told us that his injury to his toe really happened in the summer.
He was working out in Columbus, and George felt there was a problem back then, and said the problem is really one that comes and goes. He was working on it earlier today, making sure the wrap was just right on that right foot. Now, that's one thing about George and McNair. Both play hurt. And George is brought down quickly. Courtney Brown combining with Marquise Smith to make sure that George doesn't break off another big one.
And for McNair and George, it's all about pride. It's a pride thing. They just don't like to miss.
Timeout taken with 1 minute to play now in the second quarter. And George has gotten his total up to 115 yards rushing on 25 carries. And another reminder that the NASDAQ.com halftime report is coming up. Jim, Mike, and Jerry will have all the scores and highlights, plus an update on the playoff picture and a report from the Indianapolis-Miami game, a game that has A lot of bearing on how things are going to sort themselves out in the AFC. Indy go on a run here in the final 2 games, and will Miami fold up for Dave Wanstead?
What's more important, what's the temperature in Miami?
Oh man, don't even talk about it. What about Arizona? Baltimore, Arizona. That's a game in the 70s today.
Oh man, that's incredible. As cold as it is today, it's been cold, but I haven't felt this cold in a while. It's the wind that really gets you when you're on the field. It's like 25 degrees colder than it is in a tunnel.
No, we've been doing games together now 3 years, and this is by far the coldest it's been. We've avoided that one cold game. We had Buffalo in December. You figure we would have caught it somewhere down the line. Not until today. Play action. McNair off the bootleg, looking to throw it. McNair floats in a wobbly pass and incomplete. Yancey Thigpen went airborne to try to catch it. And Todd Franz, along with Corey Fuller, made sure that he didn't.
And Yancey Thigpen had him beat deep on this play. If Steve McNair puts more on this pass, it's a touchdown. Thigpen has to come back and go over the shoulder of Corey Fuller. It's an easy touchdown if he just puts a little more air into this football, but because of the wind, he misjudges the distance. Here's the pass. Watch Yancey Thigpen come back.
On 4th down, the Titans are going to go for it. Would have been a 44-yard field goal attempt, of the wind whipping the way that it is. Jeff Fisher's not sending Al Del Greco on the field. On a 4th and 6, McNair throws it up high to the end zone, and it dives before it gets to Mason. Incomplete.
It's just so hard to complete a pass in this wind. Maybe a little dump pass, a little screen, a slant coming across the middle, and you can complete those, but the long passes like that, they're just too difficult to complete. But they did take their shot downfield. Now the Cleveland defense has to respect that they'll throw it downfield. Maybe that'll open up more running lanes for Eddie George.
Tennessee hands it over to Cleveland on downs. Unable to convert on a 4th and 6. Now the Browns have it, a 1st and 10 at the 26-yard line. It would have been a 44-yard field goal attempt for Al Del Greco, but why even try it? With a 17-0 lead. Here's Peterson. Loses the football. It's free and picked up by Roger Chenois. Javon Curse knocked it loose. And the clock is moving with 29 seconds now left, first half.
Just a one-on-one slap move over the right tackle, and Javon Curse just goes in and nails the quarterback. Doug Peterson on the play, but this is an area where they wanted to improve. They've forced a lot of fumbles this season. They just haven't been able to commit and recover the fumbles. Last year, they led the NFL on fumble recoveries at 24. This year, they're one of the worst in the NFL. 27 forced fumbles coming into the game, only 8 fumble recoveries.
2nd and 16. Hand off Jamel White up the middle. And Browns fans not happy with a conservative call. What then to do in this setting? That's it for the first half. Tennessee with a 17-0 lead on the Browns. We'll send you to Jim Nance at the studio. The NASDAQ.com halftime report coming up after a word from your local station. Monday. Nuka.